This time on The Adventures of Tarka, we suffer the hard, miserable work of removing many years of accumulated bottom paint. We make Tarka shinier than she'll probably ever be again, and I return home for the first time in over a year after getting some bad news. It was hard for me to imagine doing hard time once again. I thought I had paid my dues in Grenada, and this was not part of the plan. But I guess that's part of the reality out here. Plans get washed away with the high tide. And as I learned in Grenada, living on a boat out of the water is the worst of both worlds. Water is no longer there to cool the hull, and air no longer flows through the boat to provide any sort of relief from what has now become a hot box. But now there are two of us, and beyond any sea trials, I had begun to think that if Nushta could survive the life in the boatyard, then she could take anything we encounter downwind. The job of scraping away all the years of accumulated bottom paint began in earnest. But our pace quickly slowed as blades dulled, muscles ached, and skin became irritated by the flakes of paint finding their way into our coveralls.
Enjoying it? I think that's a yes.
Having access to running water and showers provided some amount of relief, and is probably one of the only perks to being in a marina or boatyard. But there are a few other perks. You should come see this. I got something really cool here. First we have some cold water in our little freezer here.
Lekker.
What we got? Bitter bottle.
Lekker.
Ice cream.
Ooh.
I can't remember the last time we bought ice cream.
That's so good.
So we'll save that for later. Covered in sweat, paint dust, and sporting the same dirty clothes day after day wasn't a good look for either of us. But there was work to be done, and frankly we were making some serious progress. See our big bag of paint so far.
Yeah.
Check this out. This is all paint that's come off the Tarka. It's pretty heavy. 10 kilos maybe. When we tired of scraping, we'd sand the final little bit of stain just enough to reveal the white gel coat beneath. After a long day of hot, sweaty work, and because I already had the stove outside for work on the gimbal, we decided to cook outside and have ourselves a little picnic in the yard. Plus, it gave me a good excuse to test out how the gimbal would work. Like that. Since leaving Grenada, we have been carrying around Tarka's old mainsail as a backup. But with a strong and brand new one, and very limited space and weight carrying capacity on the boat, we decided it was time to get rid of the old one. Though we tried our best to find a new home for it, there just aren't any small boats out here that have a use for a mainsail from a 27-foot boat, other than for scrap. So instead, we decided to turn it into a bunch of smaller sails to distribute to our loyal patrons. No.
Maybe you want to save it as a spare sail.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This plastic?
This is why.
Why it's cracked, that's nice.
This is why I got a new sail. Is because the layers are coming apart, delaminating. We'll also put our logo on each one and sign them before mailing them off, but that will happen later. Even after making 50 of these little sails, we still had plenty of material left over, so Nusha created a very nice set of bags for the boat, and even a chafe cover for the front of our dying dinghy. this the right way to announce our arrival?
If you want to.
Life in the yard isn't all bad, though. For one thing, boatyards bring people together, and we made friends here, had barbecues and potlucks, and shared stories. It doesn't really matter how big or small your boat is. And trust me, some of these boats are truly huge compared to Tarka. I mean, this boat feels as wide as ours is long inside. No one really escapes the hard work of keeping a boat functional and floating. And it's this common requirement and its corresponding commiseration that bonds us all, and let's face it,
Cheers, mate.
hey, cheers, guys, probably encourages us to drink at the end of the day.
New YouTube video. I'm famous. I should have
someday.
worn my shirt from the company.
No, this is a good shirt.
So what we have here, this is the most fancy wine that you can get in this island in Curacao. You can recognize that it's a very, very proper wine by seeing that it doesn't say what kind of alcohol percentage it has. It doesn't say what country it's from. It doesn't, oh, it does actually say what kind of grape it is. It's a Cabernet Sauvignon.
It means old few.
Yes, and other than that, you can see that it's very, very proper by the fact that it's in a cardboard pack and it's got a little screw top. Only the fanciest of the fanciest wine
This is
have
good
that.
for a boat, though. I mean, these are the kind of packs you want.
You can stack them. You can stack them
Doesn't
up
weigh as
like,
much.
you know, like like a little brick like that. So really, if you do want to taste a very, very proper wine from year unknown, this is the way to go. Enjoy.
Very well done. Our friends Mike and Megan from Tanagra were also kind enough to provide us an escape from yard life more than once, including an evening of food and libations aboard Tanagra, as well as a snorkel session, one of our favorite spots, with our friends Keith and Jeannie too. Back to our reality, work continued on Tarka. This is how my face looks best. Aren't I beautiful?
You gonna sleep?
Yep, I'm just gonna sleep down here. I like a little noise when I sleep, a little white noise. After weeks of scraping, she was now naked, down to her bare gel coat, and ready for a new bottom. Rubbing the belt. She likes it when you rub her belly. Though I've already moved the water line up once, we decided to move it up just another inch for some extra insurance. And when I painted her last time, I moved it up to here, and these are the scuppers, the drains for the cockpit, so these should be above the water ideally. Tarka needs to go on a diet. She's getting a little fat. Tarka needs to lose some weight. Even though we just raised the water line, that doesn't give us an excuse to make the boat heavier. So I gotta find something we don't need. We got a Bruce in here. And we got, I think it's a Danforth. Now it's good to have an extra anchor, but I don't know if we need 2 extra anchors. So I think I'm going to make the difficult decision and give away an anchor to someone who needs it more than us. We might not need this either. This is a towing generator. And we haven't tested it yet, but we just got it. So we're not going to get rid of it right away. But it'd be nice if this worked for us, actually. It's nice to have 3 different anchors, but we'll do just fine with 2. And plus, our friend here in the boatyard could use this one more than us. Though Vegas don't really have a history of any blistering, we decided it couldn't hurt to give Tarka a preventive barrier coat anyway. There are many ways this can be done, but because we had the materials already, we eventually decided to just use West System epoxy, but only after doing a few compatibility tests with our new bottom paint. You know, nothing's going to grow on this piece of wood. We also wanted this layer to be an aesthetic backup in the event that the bottom paint wears off prematurely. So we added some graphite powder, giving the epoxy barrier coat a sleek, nearly black appearance. Honestly, she was so pretty that it was hard for us to continue with the primer and bottom paint. And we were tempted to just leave it at the epoxy. But it was time to move on. We first roughed up the epoxy to give the primer something to stick to. And we then applied the primer. Between coats of paint, it's always a good idea to give a few treats to the yard dogs. And once the primer was ready, we followed it up with 3 to 4 coats of bottom paint. Tarka was finally looking more like herself again. So much paint.
Oh, this is all the paint.
It's all the
It's
paint.
great up and it's really happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we did put on lots of other happy stuff. Paint stuff.
While we waited for our launch date, we finished up a few other projects that are easier to do out of the water, like repacking the stuffing box. Just imagine the internet saying, "Oh my god, that engine well is so dirty. How do these people live with themselves? If it was my boat, it would be perfectly clean all the time." Oh, I think it's coming off.
It's good.
Well, it's now disconnected at least. Hey. Can you go downstairs and pull on my prop? But we would later discover that few jobs get done right when it's your first time doing them, and we'd have to repack it in the water anyway. We also had to get one of these episodes produced.
Hey.
And that can take a significant amount of time and power that we sometimes struggle to find. But before we knew it, it was time to get Tarka wet again. We tied her up to the end of the dock for a few nights, as we needed some time to sort out that stuffing box before leaving. In the end, the issue was simply the size of the packing that I was trying to use, and all my problems went away once I moved down a size. A rainy day followed, and we took this opportunity to install a battery monitor for our power system. Up until this point, the only indication of the status of our battery bank has been a simple voltmeter, which, though better than nothing, leaves a lot to be desired. A battery monitor, at its most basic level, keeps track of the amps in and the amps out, providing a better idea of how charged, or not charged, the batteries are. In the end, we decided to go with a Victron unit for a few reasons. For one, it has a Bluetooth feature that allows us to manage and monitor everything from our smartphones, but the selling point, for me at least, was a programmable relay that we will later use in conjunction with a more powerful relay to regulate our towing generator, but that bit will happen later. I should note that Victron donated this unit to support our cause, and we couldn't be more grateful. That said, we would have chosen this battery monitor regardless. The install was simple enough, though we did have to get a bit creative with an extra ground cable that was needed. I think it will be a little while before we learn all of its features, but for now we're happy to have it on board. And with that, we were ready to go. But our plans were about to change. Shortly after splashing, I received news of the sudden and unexpected passing of my father. Devastated, I packed a few bags and was on the next flight home to Arizona to be with my family and sort out the loose ends left for us. I guess it's sometimes easy to forget that life in the outside world does continue on in spite of whatever we're doing out here on our little adventure. And this flight was taking me home to face that reality in one of the most difficult ways possible. Lucky for Tarka though, she is in Nusta's capable hands, and Nusta has plenty of company of her own to keep things interesting. But all of that will have to wait until next time.
We dance.